This is Richard Wolff from Democracy at Work with another Wolff Responds. This time I want to respond to the arguments being offered by President Biden and his government as to why we have the inflation that is hurting so many Americans these days and what it is that they're doing about it at the Biden government. Let me begin with a general overview. Every time the capitalist system is hit with something that is really bad for large numbers of people, governments, whoever they are, Republicans or Democrats, it seems to make little difference, realize they have to go into theatrical mode. They basically aren't going to do much, but they have to look like they're doing a lot. And President Biden maintained that tradition, as did Mr. Trump before him, and so on. Mr. Biden's argument? Well, it's the big bad monopolies that are monopolizing business. We don't have the competition. He keeps repeating competition. It's wonderful. Monopoly, it's bad. Monopolies, few companies running each business, jack up the prices. Aha, there you have it, inflation. Nice story, simple, good guys and bad guys. We're suffering. The bad big companies are at fault. But this is an argument that holds no water. It's theater. It's not a serious engagement with the problem. So let's begin. Monopolies existed last year, the year before, the year before, the year before, the year before. We have had a tendency to monopolize our industries for as long as there's been capitalism. The first major law passed to try to control this was the Sherman Antitrust Act in 1890. A few years later, the Clayton Act, 1914, and we've had antitrust actions of one kind or another, more or less continuously. Have they prevented monopolies from forming? No. Are they preventing them from forming now? No. Have monopolies existed over the last 10 years when we didn't have much of an inflation? Yes. So the notion that the monopolies suddenly became the bad guy for an inflation that they apparently didn't cause for most of the last 10 years, it falls apart. Nice story, but it just falls apart. Why? And the answer is the structure of capitalism. Every capitalist business is in there to make money. And they've all understood the more control you can exercise over your market, the better your chances of making it profitable. That's why businesses struggle over market share. They always would like to increase their market share. Well, if all the companies are increasing their market share, then they're going to control the market, especially if there's only a few of them, which is the tendency always in capitalism, to go from many to few. And the reason is that's what competition does. That's why celebrating competition is a little odd, since competition is what produces monopoly. Or if you like this sort of language, capitalism is a system in which competition undoes itself. And here's the mechanism. Company A and Company B are competing. Let's say they both produce shoes. Company A is able to figure out a better way to make shoes, or to get its hands on cheaper leather, or to be able to substitute lower paid workers for the ones others have to hire. Whatever it is, they're able to lower the price of shoes and thereby outcompete the other company. Nobody goes to the other company. They all come and buy their shoes where they're cheaper. Guess what competition did? It didn't just give us cheaper shoes. That's sort of the nice part of this story. But here's the not so nice part. The other company went out of business. It shut down. It went bankrupt. It laid off all of its workers. And you know who hired those workers? The company that was more price attractive. It became larger. Where there were two competing companies, there's now only one which absorbed the loser. You get it? Competition produces its own disappearance. That's why we're constantly getting monopolies. And those monopolies, as they develop, as a few companies or only one control an industry, then they get back at us. They jack up the price because we got nowhere else to go. Whatever they did earlier to lower the price, the nice news, is now offset by monopoly prices that are very high. That's the bad news. And let's remember, competition is what drove American companies to leave the United States and go to other countries where they could get away with pay workers less and thereby outcompete the ones back at home. And so they left. Competition leads to automation, replacing workers with machines. Competition has lots of consequences. Celebrating it as an unambiguous good is what you get on 4th of July speeches by members of the Rotary Club. But you can't take that seriously because that's just advertising for capitalism, showing you a few things that you can hype as good and hiding as many of the bad ones as you possibly can. No, inflation is baked in to our economy. It has lots of causes, and blaming the monopolies is the least effective way of dealing with it. Let's remember that there is an example in not so distant U.S. history when an inflation was brought under control and fast, and that was by a conservative Republican president, Richard Nixon, who on August 15th, 1971, declared a wage price freeze. He effectively told the American business community, as of tomorrow morning, if you raise a price, we will arrest you and put you in jail. Bingo! The inflation stopped. We could start with that because there you're beginning to understand that maybe prices should be set by a politically, democratically organized decision, not be left in the hands of private enterprises seeking to make as much money as they can. And when they do that, deciding when and where it's nice to have an inflation is simply, for them, a matter of regular business. The problem of inflations is the problem of the system that's prone to them sooner or later. And that system is called capitalism. If videos like this strike you as something you think ought to be discussed and debated, ought to be part of the national conversation about our issues, our problems, and ways to solve them, then please partner with us. Share this video with your friends, your neighbors, your family, your co-workers, and so on. That's a way we can all work together to extend the reach of this way of thinking, of these ways of approaching our problems. We ask you to partner with us, and that's the most important way. Of course, if you are willing to help us financially, because all of this costs money, of course, we would welcome and appreciate that support as well.